10 incredible medieval practices revealed, heartwarming transformations that would move us today. In a small, rural town, where the clouds of rain recently peeled back to reveal a somber, sodden landscape, lives a humble woman named Sarah. She is the kind of mother who would gather her son Jake close in the hazy evenings, whispering stories about honor and resilience, all while the weather battered their dilapidated community center. The echoes of her father's war tales were laced with trembling pride, reminders of a soldier who fought for the values that Sarah clung to throughout her struggle. But as she walked through the town, judgmental glances followed her, whispers of others cutting through the crisp air like knives, each comment a weight heavy on her heart. Jake, tall and determined, often closed his eyes, dreaming beyond their hallowed streets. He longed to escape, to find a world that offered more than the struggles that tied them down. The flood had hit hard, ripping through their lives and washing away the local bakery, the very pulse of their community. This loss crushed spirits even further, leaving families reeling and unsure where to turn next, but Sarah refused to be beaten, fueled by love for her boy and the haunting memories of her father. She pushed against the tide, organizing a fundraiser in the battered community center, a lifeline she hoped might pull the town back from the brink. Yet, as she stepped into the hall that murmured with discontent, she felt the echo of resentment in the shadows. Old grudges appeared, weaving a fabric of neglect and division amongst the crowd of her neighbors. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but as the meeting progressed, Sarah's resolve ignited something deep within the gathered townsfolk. With tears brimming in her eyes, she took a leap, revealing her father's medals, symbols of valor and sacrifice that had once been gripped in her father's hands. "This is what we're fighting for," she implored, her voice rising above the din. A pin-drop silence enveloped them all, the medals glinting under flickering lights like beacons of hope. Yet, just when unity seemed possible, a wealthy newcomer arrived, spreading whispers of change that chilled her bones. A luxury resort, he claimed, could turn their fortune around. But visions of history erased loomed heavy in Sarah's chest as old divisions stirred. Would the spirit of their town tear down again, splitting friendships threaded through shared suffering? With Jake watching, heart pounding and eyes wide, Sarah pondered aloud, what does it mean to belong? Can forgiveness mend our broken edges? As the crowd absorbed her question, she felt the winds of change begin to swirl, clashing against the familiar heartbreaks woven into their shared stories. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over chaos. The weight of uncertainty hung thick, leaving Jake clutching hope tightly. What would tomorrow bring to their fragile community? Would the power of unity withstand the storm? The echo of Sarah's voice lingered in the air, a delicate thread woven through the tension of the gathering. She watched the faces in the crowd, searching for a flicker of understanding, a glimmer of hope. The newcomers' uninvited presence loomed large, their glinting promises of prosperity colliding with the town's shared scars. Jake felt the pulse of his mother's words resonating within him as he looked around. People he had grown up with, those who had held golden memories of brighter days, were now knitting together uncertainty with their frowns. He craved change for them all but feared the upheaval that might come. Could they really rebuild their community, or would they drown in the waves of ambition crash against their humble roots? He noticed Mary, an elderly woman with kind eyes, clutching her knitting. "Sarah," she called, her voice trembling just a shade. "We've lost so much, but is it worth turning our home into a tourist trap? What will happen to our history, our stories?" Her question hung in the air like the dust motes caught in the late afternoon light. Sarah nodded slowly, acknowledging the depths of Mary's concern. "That's what we need to discuss together. We can't let greed snatch our heart away from us. But how do we make them see we are not only a canvas for their hopes?" The crowd murmured, uncertainty clashing with the spirits of unity. Jake pushed through the gathering, standing next to his mother. "If we come together now, we can find an answer. We don't have to choose one thing over the other. We can build a future without losing our past. His voice rang with the fervor of youth, cutting through the hesitance like a beam of bright sunlight. Sarah felt pride swell in her chest. Exactly, Jake. Let us show them what our town truly means. Not just a spot on a map filled with glass towers, but a community with soul and stories that deserve to live on. As the evening wore on, the atmosphere shifted as more townsfolk nodded in agreement, faces transforming, spirits lifting. Laughter erupted when the local teacher shared a story from the town's early days, one that involved a defiant young girl, a tamed horse, and a daring rescue of a stranded kitten. The old agony of their loss momentarily evaporated, replaced by the ghost of shared joy flickering in every heart, but still, lingering doubts remained like shadows amidst the laughter, rooted deep within some neighbors. What if this new plan could help us? Whispered Gary, a quiet man whose gaze shifted nervously. What if we could have both? Maybe we can, Jake replied, optimism painting his voice. But if we don't tell them who we are first, they'll write our story without us. That seemed to awaken something in the group. Sarah could almost see the cogs turning, the budding realization that they held the power. The urgency ignited a fire in her heart, and she stepped forward. Then let us start talking right now. Let us tell our story, the true story. Encouragement flared amongst them. They set into motion plans for a town festival, a celebration of their history and culture, infused with activities that could honor every single family's contributions. The resilience of their community glimmered with every idea pitched, painting an image of unity where they could reclaim their future while cherishing their past. As the crowd began to disperse, smiles replacing earlier frowns, Jake felt a change not just within the group, but within himself. Hope thrummed in the air. They could weave together the forgotten stories of their ancestors and present them boldly, refusing to be defined by anyone but themselves. But that night, as Sarah and Jake stepped back into the dimly lit streets, a figure lingered in the shadows, watching with a keen and calculating gaze. The newcomer was still there, a smile of ambiguous intrigue painted on his lips. What secrets did he hold? And how far was he willing to go to see his vision come to life? The roast in the community hall was simmering gently as Sarah and Jake returned home, their cheeks still flushed from the evening's heated discussions. The warmth of hope clung to them, sweeter than any stew cooking on the stove. Yet that figure in the shadows refused to be dismissed from Sarah's mind. Do you think he heard us? Sarah pondered aloud, rubbing her temples as if trying to erase the image from her thoughts. The chill in the air contrasted sharply with the warmth of their shared moment, flicking her heart uncertainly. Who knows? Jake replied, his brow furrowing. But he looked determined. Like he's up to something. Jake felt an unease unfurl in his gut when the stranger slipped silently back into the dark of the night. As Sarah bustled into the kitchen, dragging her thoughts along with her, Jake moved to the window. He could see the flicker of lights from the gathering they had just left, a pulsing heart that beat in rhythm with the excitement and fears swelling in the town. He turned back to his mother. What if he's planning to undermine everything we're trying to do? Sarah paused, stirring the pot with a bit more force than necessary. We can't let fear dictate our actions. If we come together and stay united, he won't stand a chance against our spirit. There was strength in her voice, but Jake could sense the worry beneath it. The next few days slipped by in a blur. The town buzzed with anticipation for the festival, each family eager to put their stamp on the plans and share what made their roots special. Jake visited every corner of their community, gathering stories, memories, and heirlooms that would become part of the festival's tapestry. He felt the old anguish beginning to lift, replaced with festivity and camaraderie, but the feeling was laced with tension. Townsfolk whispered about the newcomer during their gatherings. Some were excited about the prospect he represented, while others, like Mary, couldn't shake the sense that something darker was at play. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the town in warm amber hues, Jake decided he needed to confront the unease directly. Mom, I'm going to talk to him, he stated, determination rushing through him. Sarah lifted her gaze from the dusty table where she had been preparing materials for the festival. Are you sure? We don't really know what he wants. We'll never know unless I ask. Promise me you will be careful, she said, worry etched on her features. I promise. Early the next day, Jake set out under a clear blue sky, heart pounding with every step. The air was crisp, his breath visible in soft puffs, mingling with the cool breeze. He walked to the edge of town, towards the worn-down coffee shop where the stranger was rumored to spend his mornings. As he reached the wooden door, he hesitated, thoughts racing. What if he was wrong? What if the mystery man truly had ideas that could indeed help their town, waiting to be uncovered? With a deep breath, Jake pushed open the door. The familiar smell of coffee mingled with the chatter of customers, but there, alone in the corner, the stranger sat. His enigmatic smile greeted Jake, as if he had been expecting him all along. What do you want? Jake boldly challenged, feeling both terrified and alive as the words escaped his lips. Ah, Jake, I've been waiting for you. The man leaned forward, his eyes glinting with mischief mixed with intrigue. I think we can have a beautiful conversation about the future, don't you? Every caution Jake had felt evaporated in an instant. What did that smile conceal? And what was this stranger truly planning? As the moment stretched between them, Jake's instincts kicked in. The pulse of history, his community, and everything they had fought for surged within him. Could he unravel the truth before it tangled them in a web of deceit? The answer was just beginning to emerge, one that could shape the fate of their town forever. Jake took a deep breath, forcing himself to sit down across from the stranger. The man wore a tailored jacket that seemed out of place in the cozy shop. Polished shoes shone under the soft cafe lights, each element of his appearance meticulous yet oddly intimidating. Why were you waiting for me? Jake pressed, trying to control the quiver in his voice. His heart raced, uncertainty flickering in his chest like a faulty electrical wire. The stranger leaned back, fingers steepled together. I've been watching you, Jake. You have a spark of passion for your town. The festival, it's an excellent opportunity for transformation. What if I told you I can help? Jake narrowed his eyes, recalling his mother's warnings. Help how? Are you planning something that'll turn our community upside down, or are you genuinely interested in supporting us? Let us not jump to conclusions. The stranger's smile broadened, but it didn't reach his eyes. What if all I want is to see our little gathering thrive? I believe your festival could be the talk of the region, but it needs something more enticing. Enticing? Jake echoed, skeptically. What do you mean? The man pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket, sliding it across the table. Jake hesitated but then reached out to unfold it. It was a proposal for a grand attraction, a performance that promised to draw crowds from neighboring towns. The words danced off the page: fireworks, food stalls, live music, a festive explosion that could indeed elevate their humble celebration. This is amazing, Jake began, but the excitement faded as he sensed the catch. What's the price? Ah, good question. Nothing comes for free, after all. Your festival would become a community marvel, in return for a donation a small percentage of the profits. Imagine the funds for your town. Jake gritted his teeth. You speak as though you know what our town needs better than we do. We're planning this festival to celebrate our roots, our traditions. We don't need flashy distractions. The stranger's gaze darkened slightly, revealing a glimmer of frustration. Traditions are important, but you know as well as I do that you need more than nostalgia to survive in this world. Change is inevitable, Jake. Either you adapt, or be left behind. A silence enveloped them. The distant sounds of laughter mingled with the aroma of fresh coffee, but Jake felt isolated, a civil war brewing in his heart. Let us say I take your offer, he said, cautiously choosing his words. What would stop you from running the show? What if you have other plans? Plans? The man let out a chuckle, leaning forward again, his face intense. Don't think of me as a puppet master. I aim to create opportunities, but the thread remains in your hands. Your community's soul must guide this. I'm merely suggesting a path. Jake's mind raced. His community was at a crossroads. Were they strong enough to embrace change without losing what made them special? Let me think about it, Jake replied finally, standing up and folding the proposal back. With every ounce of effort, he kept his voice steady. I 1TB rushed into a decision. Very well, the stranger replied, a grin playing on his lips. I like a man who knows how to consider his options. Just know I 1TB waiting forever. Jake walked back home, the weight of the conversation hanging over him like a storm cloud. He could picture his mother's worried expression, her belief that unity was their armor against uncertainty. The festival loomed closer, promising either a moment of triumph or a disaster at the hands of one man's ambitions. What would he tell Sarah? How would he explain the proposition he felt stuck in his gut? As he stepped inside, the kitchen was filled with the comforting smell of simmering herbs. He saw his mother at the counter, the soft light illuminating her features. Could he burden her with this? Or would he shoulder the weight alone? Jake's heart pounded louder than it had at the cafe. The choices ahead of him felt as heavy as stone, and he knew they would reverberate through the fabric of their community. Mom, he started, the words catching in his throat. We need to talk, but as he spoke, a loud knock echoed against the door, shattering the stillness. The air thickened with tension. Who was at the door now? What more was coming for their town? Jake froze, staring at the door as if it had sprouted fangs. The knock came again, more urgent this time. His mother turned, eyebrows raised in question, spotting the unease etched on his face. Who could that be? She asked, drying her hands on a dish towel. Jake glanced back at her, unsure of what to say. Did he even want her to be part of this? Maybe it's just a neighbor. I'll check, he managed, trying to mask the spiking anxiety that clawed at his insides. With each footstep, he felt like he was trudging through mud, the weight of the stranger's proposal still heavy on his mind as he opened the door, bracing himself for whatever he'd find. Standing before him was not a neighbor, but a woman he recognized, a local artist named Clara, well known in town for her mural work. Her vibrant creations brought life to dull walls, and Jake had always admired her passion. Jake! She exclaimed, her voice a rush of excitement. You 1T believe what just happened? Clara's cheeks were flushed, and she was practically bouncing on her feet. He couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope at her enthusiasm. What is it? He asked, curiosity piqued despite himself. I just got word that the local art community is willing to support your festival. They want to collaborate on something special: art installations, performances, everything. It could be fantastic. She seemed almost breathless as she spoke. Jake's heart soared briefly at the possibility, but he couldn't shake the undercurrent of tension. That's great, Clara, but he hesitated, the stranger's offer still fresh in his thoughts. But what? She asked, instantly sensing his reluctance. There's this man who approached me today. He has some big ideas for the festival, but it comes at a price. I'm worried he'll overshadow everything we've worked for. Clara's excitement faltered slightly. Are you serious? What does he want you to give up? Not give up exactly. Jake rubbed the back of his neck, struggling to articulate the knot in his stomach. He wants a percentage of the profits. I just don't want to lose our community's spirit in the process. I get it. But we can't let fear of change keep us from growth. What if we all band together? If our art community supports this, it could strengthen our roots instead of tearing them away, she urged, her voice steady yet passionate. Jake felt the warmth of her encouragement wash over him, but doubt still lurked. Could a collaboration elevate the festival without losing its essence? The concept seemed almost too bright, too optimistic against the darkness that the stranger's proposal had cast. Maybe you're right, Jake conceded, feeling the hope flickering in his heart, fighting against the confusion. But we need more voices in this conversation. I can't be the only one deciding what this festival becomes. Exactly. Let us gather everyone, artists, local leaders, anyone who cares about this town. We can hold a meeting and make sure everyone's voice is heard. We can build something beautiful together. Clara's eyes sparkled with motivation. Okay, Jake said, a newfound determination igniting within him. Let me talk to my mom, and I'll start setting it up. We can't let this slip through our fingers. As they turned to leave, another knock echoed through the house, startling them. Jake's heart raced again, a sense of dread tightening around him. Do you mind getting that? Clara nudged him gently. No, let us do it together, he replied. With their united front, they opened the door once more. There, standing with a hesitant smile, was Sarah. She held a basket filled with baked goods, an offering intended for a gathering that might happen soon. Hey guys, I heard about the festival meeting. I wanted to bring some treats for everyone. The sight of her warm smile and kind gesture made Jake's heart swell. He was reminded that they were all in this together. But just beyond her stood a dark figure lurking at the edge of the street, a chilling reminder that not all transformations were pure. What is going on? Sarah asked, her cheerful demeanor faltering as she took notice of the tension. Jake took a deep breath, ready to share, ready to fight for their community. But the figure stepped forward, and with chilling clarity, Jake knew the conversation wasn't over. Can we really protect what we love? Jake wondered. The festival was only the beginning, but would it be their salvation, or something else entirely? Jake's heart raced as the shadowy figure ambled closer, the fading sunlight glinting off the stranger's dark clothing. Sarah stood beside him, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Clara shifted slightly, her excitement dimming as apprehension settled in the air. Who is that? Sarah whispered, her voice quivering slightly. I don't know, Jake replied, his throat dry. The stranger's presence clawed at him, igniting an instinctual sense of danger. Don't worry, Clara said, her confidence bubbling back to the surface. We're a community. We'll handle this together. Just as the figure stepped into the light, it became painfully clear who it was. It was the man from earlier, the one who proposed the unsettling deal. A chill ran down Jake's spine. He hoped he wouldn't have to face him again, not now, not when he was starting to foster hope for the festival. Evening, folks, the man's voice rang out, smooth yet laden with a certain edge. I see you've gathered some excitement. Don't let me interrupt. Jake was just filling us in about the festival, Clara replied, her tone fierce enough to mask her unease. Oh, I know. You've got quite the buzz going, art and community. It warms my heart. Maybe we can join forces. He smirked, but Jake could sense the hidden threat beneath his casual banter. Thank you, but we're looking to solidify our plans first, Jake asserted, his voice steadier than he felt. We're hoping to keep this a local event. I admire your ambition, he said, stepping closer, a predatory gleam in his eye. But don't you want your festival to be the best it can be? Sometimes, you need a little push from the outside to make that happen. The silence that followed was pregnant with tension. Sarah clenched her basket tight, her knuckles whitening. Clara stood firm, shaking her head. We believe in our community, Clara said, eyes narrowed. We're not looking for quick money or flashy gimmicks. We want authenticity. Authenticity doesn't pay the bills, the man hissed, his once charming facade fading. Think about it, Jake. Are you really prepared to take this on alone, or would you rather have someone with resources? Jake's heart sank. Part of him was tempted by the promise of a professional, a glimmer of recognition and success. But the weight of obligation that came with that partnership was daunting. I don't want to sacrifice our spirit, Jake finally said, each word fueled by the warmth of his friends beside him. We have a vision. It belongs to all of us. Good luck with that, the man sneered, taking a step back, but not retreating entirely. The fire in his eyes dimmed, but Jake could sense his frustration. Just remember, I'm here if you change your mind. With that, the stranger turned and strode away, his silhouette growing darker against the twilight. The tension eased as he disappeared around the corner, but the unease lingered in the air like smoke. What was that about? Sarah asked, her voice breaking the silence. Something doesn't feel right, Jake murmured, his gaze lingering on the now empty street. While we're excited about building this festival, I can't shake the feeling that his interest is more than just business. Then let us gather everyone, Clara reminded him, her determination unwavering. If we stand together, we can be the support and protection we need. We'll show him that our community is stronger than any outside influence. Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had to prove that support extended far beyond monetary gain. It was about heart, about culture, about the very soul of their town. They wouldn't let fear drive them apart. As conversations about the festival buzzed back to life, Jake held on to that hope like a lifeline. But deep inside, a warning bell rang with each beat of his heart. What if the stranger returns? What if his threat isn't over? Jake pondered. The festival was only beginning, but the real battle for its spirit was just ahead, and the stakes seemed to rise higher with every moment. Tomorrow, we start the meetings, Jake announced, summoning all his strength. Get ready, everyone. This will take all of us. We'll need to be vigilant. And as they stood together, a sense of solidarity formed among them, a flicker of light against the darkness still lurking beyond the edge of their town's joy. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that shadows were moving closer, and he could no longer ignore the darkness rising within him. What did it all mean for their vision? And would they discover the strength they needed, or would they be faced with a fight that could threaten everything they held dear? Morning light filtered through the trees, casting playful shadows on the ground. The day felt fresh, but lingering doubts clung to Jake like the morning mist. As he gathered with Clara and Sarah at the community center, their usual place for planning, a palpable energy filled the room. They had come together, a little band of believers, ready to stand firm against whatever threats loomed beyond their door. Okay, Jake began, shifting his weight nervously. We need to focus on our purpose. The festival is about showcasing our community, our art, our spirit. Everyone has something to contribute, something real. Clara nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. We can create something beautiful if we all pitch in, even if it means extra work for some of us. But it's worth it, right? Sarah bit her lip, looking at the plans laid out on the table. But, what if he comes back? The man who threatened us, I mean. I can't help but think what he said might be more than just talk. Jake's heart sank as he recalled the man's piercing gaze. We won't let that fear dictate our plans. If he shows up again, we stand together. No one can take our voice away from us. Their meeting buzzed with ideas and enthusiasm. Maps were spread out on the tables, colorful pens in hand as they sketched booth layouts and entertainment schedules. Discussions flowed from traditional food stalls to art displays, so many visions building on each other, a tapestry of collective dreams. But even amidst the laughter and brainstorming, Jake couldn't ignore the flutter in his stomach. The idea of the man somehow manipulating them surfaced unbidden, overshadowing their efforts. Had he unintentionally invited danger into their plans by rejecting the offer? The thought gnawed at him. As they wrapped up the meeting, Clara motioned everyone closer. Let us make a pact. No matter what happens, we keep our community at the center. We won't compromise our vision. Agreed, the others echoed, sealing their resolve in a moment of unity. There was strength in their collective determination, fists raised in solidarity. Still, as Jake glanced out the window, he felt a chill run down his spine. It sliced through the warmth of the sun, a stark reminder that threats often lurk just beyond sight. That evening, after parting ways with Clara and Sarah, Jake walked home slower than usual. The streets felt different, shadows longer and deeper, as if the town itself were holding its breath. He turned into a vacant lot where lanterns flickered in the breeze, wondering if he might find solace in the familiar surroundings. But as he strolled over to the old oak tree, a figure emerged from the shadows just dark enough to be daunting. Jake's breath caught, fear flooding him. The stranger again? No, it was a different person. Still, the sensation of danger pressed heavy in the air. "Hey there," a smooth voice called, echoing off the pavement. The face slowly illuminated as he stepped closer, and Jake recognized him instantly. It was a local, Matt, a fellow artist who had been friendlier some weeks before. "Matt, what are you doing out here?" Jake asked, relief filtering through, mingling with confusion. Matt's smile seemed too wide, his eyes darting between Jake and the trees. "I wanted to find you. I heard about the festival planning. Can I help?" A prickly sensation raised the hairs on Jake's neck. "Sure, but are you okay? You seem a bit nervous." "Just excited," Matt said too quickly, his voice strained. "We need more excitement. Change is coming to your festival, Jake." Jake's gut twisted. "What do you mean? What kind of change?" The reply faded into the shadows as Matt grinned too broadly, darkness cloaking his words. As he turned, Jake felt the weight of uncertainty settle heavy on his shoulders. Why did it feel like something hidden, like another shadow, moved in closer? Jake was about to step forward when he heard a rustle behind him. Whipping around, he scanned the lot, feeling the air grow thick with unease. "Wait! Matt, where are you going?" He called out, but the darkness swallowed the sound. Questions raced through his mind. What was happening? What did Matt know that Jake didn't? And somewhere in the night, the shadows whispered, "Are you brave enough to confront the truth, or will the darkness consume you?" Jake's heart hammered as he turned back to face the departing figure of Matt, but Matt was gone, swallowed by the cloak of night. The chill in the air wrapped around him like a warning. With every breath, dread coiled tighter in his chest. Just moments ago, the warmth of planning had wrapped him in hope, but now the shadows threatened to unravel everything. That he shook his head, trying to dispel the fog of anxiety that clouded his thoughts. Was he overreacting? Was his mind still trapped in the echoes of the man's threat? Taking a deep breath, he turned his feet towards home, determined to shake off the unease. As he walked, he couldn't help but glance over his shoulder, half expecting to see Matt reappear, an eerie grin plastered on his face. But the street remained vacant, bare except for flickering streetlights that seemed to struggle against the encroaching darkness. The world around him felt fraught, like a canvas of normalcy painted over with layers of hidden tension. Back in his quiet home, Jake poured himself a glass of water, the coolness soothing his frazzled nerves. He sat on the couch, the silence wrapping around him, and tried to focus on the festival plans spread out on the coffee table. They had so many ideas, bright with promise. A community united by hope, not fear. Yet, his mind drifted back to Matt's unsettling enthusiasm. What change was he talking about? Jake picked up a pen, absent-mindedly drawing circles on the margin of the page. Something nagged at him, a sense of responsibility to his friends and neighbors. If there was danger lurking in the shadows, he couldn't let it fester. The festival was meant to bring them together, not tear them apart. That he grabbed his phone and called Clara. The line rang twice before she picked up, her voice a beacon of comfort. "Jake? Is everything okay?" "No, not really," he admitted, his concern spilling out like water from a cracked vase. "Matt he just seemed off tonight. Like he knows something about the festival that we don't, and I can't shake this feeling something bad is coming. Do you want to come over? We can talk it through," Clara offered, her tone steady, grounding him. "Yeah, I think I need that." Jake slipped on a jacket, feeling the weight of the cool night press against him as he headed back into the streets. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground was reluctant to let him leave. What if Matt's excitement was more than just enthusiasm? What if this was just the beginning of something bigger, darker? When he arrived at Clara's, the porch light warmly lit the entrance. He knocked, and she opened the door. Her worried expression shifted into a soft smile, and she pulled him inside. "Let's sit," she said, leading him to the kitchen table strewn with plans and colorful sketches of booths. What's really bothering you? It's everything, Jake started, dragging his hand through his hair in frustration. It's like we're building something beautiful, but there's this shadow, this fear that something could tear it apart. I know, and I understand, Clara said gently. But remember, we are stronger together. Whatever happens, we'll face it. Jake nodded, feeling the warmth of her words start to dissolve his worries. It's just, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm worrying for nothing? Clara reached across the table, squeezing his hand. Then we keep nurturing our community. But if there is something to confront, we do it together. None of us are alone in this. Jake felt a flicker of hope rekindle. They might be facing uncertainty, but he wasn't backing down. Suddenly, Sarah burst through the door, breathless and wide-eyed. Guys, you won't believe this. There is something happening at the park. It's a gathering of sorts. We need to check it out. The urgency in her voice sent adrenaline rushing through Jake. Was this the change Matt hinted at? His heart raced, a mix of fear and excitement surging through him. What do you mean, a gathering? Jake asked, glancing at Clara. It's like a protest, Sarah replied, her expression serious. People are talking about our festival, but it's not just celebration, there is something else. We need to go. Jake exchanged glances with Clara, their determination rekindling. Lead the way, Sarah, he said, feeling the weight of the night settle on his shoulders. The truth was closer than he thought, and together they would seek it out, but as they stepped back into the cool night, a new question loomed in Jake's mind: what awaited them at the park? The cool night air wrapped Jake, Clara, and Sarah in a shroud of anticipation as they made their way to the park. Each step felt electric, filled with an undercurrent of uncertainty. Jake's heart raced not just from fear, but from a growing sense of purpose. This gathering at the park, whatever it was, could change everything. As they approached, the soft hum of voices drifted on the wind. Shadows danced under the flickering lights, revealing groups of people huddled together, some holding signs. It was hard to make out the words from a distance, but he could see determination etched on every face. Stay close, Jake whispered, instinctively reaching for Clara's hand. The grip was reassuring, grounding him against the swell of anxiety growing inside. They joined the throng of onlookers, the crowd swirling like a living organism, vibrant and agitated. Skipping over discarded flyers, Jake felt the grit of the gravel beneath his shoes, a stark reminder of what was at stake. This gathering was not just about their festival. There was something deeper, something resonating with the fears and hopes of the community. As they pushed further in, a voice rang out bold and unwavering. We can't just sit back and let fear dictate our lives. This festival is for everyone. Jake recognized the speaker, an older gentleman named Mr. Thompson, a once familiar face at community events. The crowd shifted as people leaned in, hungry for connection and answers. He could see the intensity of their expressions, the mix of worry and resolve. But what about the rumors? Another voice piped up, this one young and shaky. What if it brings more trouble? What if they come for us? A murmur rippled through the crowd. Jake's stomach dropped. Was this what Matt had meant? A change that could tear the community apart, rather than unite it? Jake tightened his grip on Clara's hand, feeling the pulse of uncertainty in his own chest. Change doesn't come without risks. Mr. Thompson replied, his voice rising above the anxious murmurs. But we cannot let fear win. We need to stand together, as one community. This festival and the happiness it represents is worth fighting for. His words sparked something in Jake. This wasn't just about the festival anymore, it was about resilience, about a community rising together in the face of adversity. Jake turned to Clara and Sarah. What do you think? Should we say something? Clara looked around, her brow furrowed in thought. I think we should. We know what it means to hope, to dream. We can share that. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. Yes. We can remind them why we're doing this. With newfound determination, Jake stepped forward, drawing the attention of the crowd. He felt the weight of their eyes on him, a mixture of expectation and vulnerability. "We understand your fears," he began, feeling his confidence ebb away and then rebound. "But we're not just here to spread joy, we're here to show that our community can rise above hate and division." He inhaled deeply, finding strength in the words he spoke. "The festival is a symbol of who we are. Together, we can not only celebrate our lives but also protect one another from whatever threats come our way." A ripple of solidarity surged through the crowd, and he could see heads nodding in agreement. Clara and Sarah stepped beside him, their presence bolstering his courage. "That's right," Clara shouted. "We are stronger together. Let us show that our love for each other is greater than any fear." Cheers erupted from the gathering, echoing against the dark night sky. Just for a moment, the heaviness lifted, replaced by a flicker of hope, but in the midst of their rallying cry, a figure emerged from the shadows, Matt, with that unsettling grin stretching across his face. Jake felt his heart drop again. Had he come to disrupt their unity, or was he there to deliver another chilling message? Jake took a step back, his voice faltering as he met that eerie gaze. "Matt, what are you doing here?" The crowd quieted, tension reverberating in the air. Matt raised an eyebrow, a mix of amusement and menace. "Isn't it obvious? Change is coming, Jake. But you've only scratched the surface of what that means." Jake's breath hitched as he realized that the night was far from over. What lay behind Matt's malicious confidence? And how far would he go to make his point known? The answers felt dangerously close, and as waves of uncertainty crashed over him again, Jake braced himself for whatever was about to unfold. The tension in the park bubbled on the surface, waiting to erupt. The crowd had rallied around Jake, Clara, and Sarah, but the unsettling figure of Matt loomed ominously in the background. Jake's heart raced as Matt's twisted smile seemed to suck the warmth from the gathering, leaving a chill in its wake. "Change is coming," Matt's voice was smooth yet sliced through the air with an undercurrent of threat. The crowd recoiled slightly, uncertainty rippling like a wave. Was this the change they had worked so hard to embrace, or something else entirely? "Change can be great, but it shouldn't come at the expense of our roots," Jake called out, gripping the emotions surging within him. Hadn't they come so far already, united by love for each other? "It's amusing that you think you're in control, Jake," Matt laughed, glancing around. "But the truth is, the festival isn't just about nostalgia. It's an opportunity, the kind of opportunity that brings real money and recognition, a lifeline." Fury ignited in Jake's chest. "It's not about money. This is our home. Our stories. Your stories." Matt challenged, stepping closer, his eyes dark and unyielding. "They've done nothing to save you from the wave that's coming, the tide of change I represent. Can your little gathering really withstand that?" Clara stepped forward, her resolve fierce, echoing the anger in Jake's heart. "You underestimate the power of community. We will protect our stories, our history. We're not afraid of you." A voice broke through the crowd, a voice Jake remembered from their earlier discussions. "Is wealth really what we want? Will it chase away our dreams? We've lost too much already." It was Mary, eyes wide, her hands trembling in the air. Nods echoed among the crowd as murmurs grew louder, affirming her point. "Yes. We don't need glitz. We need bonds," Sarah added, rallying the voices in support of their vision. In that moment, something shifted. A crackle of unity surged through the crowd. They began chanting subtly, each voice building momentum, rising like the sun breaking through clouds. "Not for sale. Not for sale." Jake looked at Clara, their gaze locking with fervor. "You see that?" He breathed, hope blooming in his chest. "They're fighting for what we believe in." And then, as if bolstered by their words, the crowd surged forward, the chant growing in strength and certainty. "Not for sale. Not for sale." Matt's expression faltered, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. The crowd's energy, once confronting his dark charisma, now encircled him like a fortress. "Enough!" he shouted, voice cracking slightly, as if the weight of their resolve began to shatter his confidence. "You really think your festival is going to make a difference? I can't let sentimentality hold back progress." One older gentleman stepped forward. "Progress without heart isn't progress at all. We've seen what happens when ambition outgrows authenticity. This is our chance to showcase what makes our town unique." With a final push from the townsfolk, each voice fueled by courage and hope, they repeated the mantra louder. "Not for sale." A flicker of doubt passed through Matt's eyes, and for a split second, the facade of confidence slipped. It was clear, he underestimated the depth of feeling these people shared. "Fine," he snapped, throwing his hands up in a dramatic retreat. "You might win today, but this conversation isn't over." With that, he melted back into the shadows, leaving behind a tense silence that felt almost sacred. Jake felt the weight of uncertainty lift slightly. The crowd erupted into joyous exclamations, relief and jubilation clouding their faces. "We did it! We stood our ground!" Sarah shouted, her eyes bright with pride. Clara stepped toward Jake, grabbing his hand. "You were incredible. We all were." Jake looked around, and the warmth of community enveloped him like an embrace. They had weathered darkness together and forged a path toward light. And as the festive spirit enveloped them, Jake realized that they could protect their town through unity, through their stories, and through love. They were stronger woven together than they could ever be apart. As dawn broke on the horizon, illuminating the park in golden light, Jake knew this was just the beginning, a celebration not only of their past but of their collective future. "Tomorrow," he announced to the crowd, "we meet to plan our festival. Together, let us show everyone our town's brilliance. Our heart. So, let us celebrate our roots and set our spirit free." Cheers erupted, filling the air with hope and determination. Jake's eyes sparkled with vision as he felt the pulse of the community surrounding them, their love igniting a fire that could weather any storm. This was what it meant to belong, a family, a united front, ready to cherish their past and shape their future, and as they embraced the dawn, Jake understood, true transformation came from within. Now, time for action. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories that uplift and inspire. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and keep this community thriving. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this inspiring resolution, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this heartwarming transformation. You are the heart of this community. Your support means everything.